CHAMA no CHAMA. I said it. I said it in the previous video. Alex Pereira was going to knock him out. Now, I said it was going to be in the 4th round. I didn't expect it to happen this fast. But it fucking happened. Fuck you, Big Onk. You're a loser. Awful champion. Nobody likes you. You're a loser. Now you can go work in the tire shop, you dweeb. But thanks for coming in to watch this video. We're going to break down UFC 220. Absolute banger of a card. And we're actually going to start off with the main event of Magomedov Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into it. Now, when this fight started, I had said in the breakdown for this card in the previous video, Alex Pereira just needs to throw fucking caution to the wind. Fuck defending the takedowns. Just let your hands go and see what happens. If you lose, you lose. If you get taken down, you get taken down. It's not like Ankalaev really has any submission wins anyway. Whatever happens, happens. That's what I was kind of saying for this fight. And I thought really the only way Alex Pereira was going to win is he just was aggressive and immediately put forward pressure on and landed his calf kicks and let his hands go. And that's exactly what he did. He started off by immediately putting pressure on Ankalaev. His calf kicks worked. He had one that you could tell actually hurt Ankalaev that were literally non-factors in the first fight. And one of them made Ankalaev switch from southpaw to orthodox, which immediately was like, well, this fight's going to get interesting now. And then Alex kind of continues to keep forward pressure, hits him with a right hand. Magomedov drops to his knees, jumps at Alex's knees. And then Alex turns him onto his back, spamming hammer fists and elbows, 12-6 elbows. Herb Dean eventually calls the fight off. And I saw people on Twitter going like, ooh, that was kind of a late, that was an early stoppage. Herb Dean, great drafting by Herb Dean. MMA Joey, that fucking fat loser, said that. What a ridiculous thing to say. He wasn't defending himself at all. Herb Dean gave, I thought, almost too much time. I don't even think it was early stoppage whatsoever. Alex wins, then he does, the point down that he did to Jamal Hill like this. It was so cool. Fuck you, Magomedov Ankalaev. I mean, the shit that Ali and your coaches have been talking about Alex Pereira, you would think Alex Pereira was the biggest loser and had zero mixed martial arts skills whatsoever. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. They're saying, this is just an old kickboxer who has no power. We're going to end CHAMA. You didn't end shit, Magomed. And I feel a little bit of sympathy for you because you really weren't the one tweeting out all of this. And Ali kind of got you into, a fight that you really couldn't win. In terms of you were getting booed out the stadium. Everybody hates you. And look what happened. You got exposed. I'm not even counting that first fight because Alex Pereira had a broken hand. He probably had neurovirus, maybe AIDS, cancer. He probably had every disease you could think of because there's no way he should ever lose to this guy. Again, where was this aggression in the first fight? He had to have been hurt. I also think he had something wrong with his leg. I remember when I heard that, I was like, oh, Alex, you're just making excuses. Ankalaev really schooled you. It all makes sense now after you saw this. And when do you ever see a guy this old really get his belt back? I know like some in the heavier weight class is more possible, but isn't John Jones the only other light heavyweight to regain his belt back after losing it? And that was because of inactivity. He never lost. I mean, that scumbag woman beater. But Alex Pereira, what a G. And he also broke his pinky in this from his big toe on one of those kicks. He's just a legend. I mean, this guy, he's going to be one of the top 15 best ever. And his legacy isn't done. He wants to move up to heavyweight. Dana was kind of saying, there's still fights to make it light heavyweight, which I think there are. Jiri at a trilogy fight would be extremely interesting. Olberg's right there also. Ankalaev, you're never getting a rematch. You'll never touch the belt again. You'll be relegated to fucking gatekeeper. Nobody ever wants to see you do anything again. You're worthless and we all hate you. I know that might sound harsh, but you're a loser, buddy. I hate you. And Alex Pereira winning this belt back might have been one of the greatest moments of my life. And I haven't had kids yet. I don't have a wife. But I don't even think that would rival what I saw today. What I saw tonight. It was really beautiful. And it capped off really what was just a beautiful card. But I had to start off with this fight because it's fresh in my mind. And it was absolutely a thing of beauty. But, yeah, Alex Pereira gets his belt back. Interesting to see what happens. I think he should move up to heavyweight. But we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll make another video in terms of matchmaking for kind of a lot of the top guys in the main card. But moving down the card we go to the co-main event. Merab Dvalishvili beats Corey Sandhagen to retain the Undisputed Bantamweight Championship. And honestly, I'll say a couple things about this before I kind of glaze Merab. I was impressed with Corey Sandhagen for most of this. I was thinking in the middle of the fight, I was like, man, Sean O'Malley really is just such an awful matchup. Like, he can't do shit against Merab. And Corey Sandhagen, give him credit. He landed nice strikes on Merab throughout this fight. He negated takedowns in terms of, he did get taken down a lot, but when he got to the ground, he immediately got back up. He wasn't getting controlled on the ground a ton. Did he get stuck on the cage a little bit? Yeah. Did he get taken down 20 times? Yeah, that'll happen. But I thought in the first round he did a nice job pressing. He was landing shots, had some nice kicks. Also made Merab miss on a ton of like overhand rights. And I thought he won 10-9, and I was like, oh, that piqued my interest a little bit. And then round 2, I mean, Merab almost fucking finished him. I mean, he pieced him up. To get pieced up by Merab is sad. And I said in the last video, Merab does have underrated boxing. I know his striking's not exactly pretty, but he can do a nice 1-2, and then maybe a nice overhand. But Merab dropped him, kept shooting takedowns. Core would get up, and then Merab was just emoting him on him by the end of there. And round 3 was kind of more of the same. Just Merab fucking blasting double legs, would pull into single legs and then get the body lock behind him and then just toss him over his shoulder. Like it was dominant wrestling, and it was honestly a thing of beauty. And at a certain point I felt bad for Corey Sandhagen. You could tell he was getting frustrated. I mean, how much more can you do? And credit to him, his cardio stayed up in this fight. I mean, I'll get into the 5th round in a second, but he really just kept getting back up. A lot of guys, when you get taken down that much, eventually you're just going to tire out, and then Merab just controls you on the ground for most of it. But that didn't happen. I thought Corey Sandhagen just did a good job surviving. I know that might sound funny, but I mean, at this point, it was a close round. There was probably a 10-8 in round 2 and then a 10-9 in round 3. So Merab was up, but it wasn't like it was, he was blowing Corey Sandhagen out or anything. And then round 4 comes, it was more the same in the beginning, but then Corey started to land more. He was finding the range, landing his punches again. And he was definitely hurt Merab a little bit in here. I thought he had a chance to win this round. And he might have. I mean, I don't really remember all the scorecards for this. But he might have won this 10-9, but then Merab got him down and took kind of like a Darce choke at the end of the round, and I thought it was overall close. But yeah, and then the 5th round was kind of when Merab really pulled away. It was nice striking from both guys. They kind of stood and banged for a little bit, and you just can't stop Merab, honestly. I thought Corey did land some decent strikes in that round, but it really doesn't matter. Merab wins 49-46. And Corey did actually hurt him at the end of the 5th round. Even Merab admitted to it when they met backstage. Props to Corey Sandhagen. I make fun of this guy a lot of time for being a nerd. His whole fan base is just white dudes like myself, but I don't fall under the Corey Sandhagen white guy MMA fan. I have a lot of respect for him. He stood in there, was willing to scrap, did a good job at least getting up from takedowns, even though he was taken down 20 times. But listen, Merab's just undeniable. This is the bantamweight GOAT. Don't say Dominic Cruz. Don't say T.J. Dillashaw. I don't want to hear anybody else. This guy's the bantamweight GOAT. Fight Peter Yan in a rematch. Probably. He wants to fight in December. I don't think that's going to happen, but that should be the next fight for Merab. Corey Sandhagen, maybe a Sean O'Malley. I mean, he already fought Song Yadong, so I just accidentally hit Khalil Roundtree's page. But maybe Sean O'Malley for his next fight. Anyway, moving down the card we go to really the best fight of the night. If Jiri lost this, I would have entered a depressive episode, and what a fight this was. I was so nervous before this fight. I was like, fuck. If Jiri loses, I'm going to be devastated. I thought it'd be a bad sign of things to come for the rest. But let's go for that. Let's go for that, right, Jiri? I really had never been happier until the Alex fight when he knocked out Khalil Roundtree. And that's also saying Khalil Roundtree's a guy I really like. And for him to get put out by Jiri Prochazka was both sad, but it was also like, man, fucking Jiri Prochazka. This guy's just different, man. I mean, he's the samurai stuff. I mean, he's just different. One thing I got a question during this fight, at least in the first round, it looked like Jiri was slipping constantly. Was there fucking oil on the canvas? Like, what happened? It made zero sense to me. And the whole fight, I felt like Joe Rogan was just glazing Khalil Roundtree the entire fight. And a little bit rightfully so, because I thought he really did a nice job controlling the pace, especially in the first round. I mean, first round, what's it called? Jiri had nearly took Khalil Roundtree's balls off. Like, he just missed his crotch. Khalil did a nice job, like, touching him up with his left. He kept the fight at his pace, which I was like, all right, nice. I thought he was going to win the first round anyway. Like, coming into this fight, I was like, I think I could see it slow. He threw some leg kicks, had a nice body kick. And then he was throwing some haymakers, like, had a nice couple of combinations. And Jiri, his footwork, he looked like he was fucking drunk. And I know he's naturally an unorthodox fighter with his footwork and his movement. But I thought they slipped something in his fucking drink. Like, they roofied him. Because I was getting worried. I was like, he looks weird. Like, is he hurt? And then as the fight went on, I was like, he can't really be hurt. He was doing these dumb jumping knees. Like, that made zero sense. It's like, his legs have to be fine then. He didn't land one of them, but whatever. Then round 2 kind of comes along, and Khalil just kept moving pretty fast, but I thought Jiri's pressure was a little bit in there. Jiri had like a nice spinning elbow that didn't land entirely cleanly, but it was there. There were still some nice overhands from Khalil in this round. He really couldn't rock Jiri, though. I mean, you think you have him rocked until you don't. Like, you can land clean on him, and it doesn't really matter. Like, none of them were strong enough. I thought Jiri, again, did better with pressure in this round. And Khalil still was moving pretty well and had some leg kicks. But overall for this fight, I thought he should have worked on his leg kicks a little bit more. And maybe been a little bit more aggressive. It's kind of funny because I liked how he was controlling the pace. But at the same time, I would have liked if he went for the kill. Because by the time, and maybe this is why he didn't, because he looked gassed by the third round. Jiri, I wrote, Jiri needs to create hell. He created hell. He upped the pressure immensely. Jab cross. Jiri's hunting Khalil down. Gets him against the fence. Jab cross. 1-2. Lights out. Khalil Roundtree felt like a sack of fucking bricks. And it was like one of those knockouts like, oh! I mean, these dudes were just throwing in round 3. You could tell they were both gassed, but Jiri had more left in the tank and just finishes them. And you know what I'll say, though? For Khalil Roundtree and Jiri Prochazka, mostly this is directed at Khalil Roundtree, but this is a guy, his last 2 fights, he prepared for 5-round fights, you know what I mean? Like, he went 4 rounds with Alex Pereira and survived. I mean, he got finished, but it wasn't as bad as this. And then went 5 rounds with Jamal Hill, and I get Jamal Hill. He's sloppy footwork, he didn't really have to do much in there. Khalil styled on him the whole way. But it's like, I feel like, did Jiri just drain Khalil Roundtree's entire gas tank in the 3rd round? Like, it just seemed to happen so fast that he went from, wow, he looks pretty fresh, to, wow, he looks absolutely dead. I can't be the only one who thought that. But either way, this was a super impressive win for Jiri Prochazka. I was just so happy for him. This guy is the best. I love that I love that he's, fucking saying like, oh, I asked Carlos Ulberg, he didn't want to fight. Then he's back in the crowd for the main event. And he was getting emotional watching Alex win. You could tell he was like, he was eyeing that trilogy. I gotta give Jiri Prochazka credit. To get knocked out, or to get finished by Alex Pereira twice, and then still be like, I want a trilogy, is just, it takes a certain guy. He's a special animal, Jiri Prochazka. So I can't wait to see him again. Maybe it's against Alex Pereira. Maybe Alex Pereira moves up, vacates the belt, and it's Jiri versus Ulberg. I think there's a lot you could do with Jiri. Other way, I mean, if Alex Pereira wasn't the champion, I'd be rooting so hard for this guy. It was almost like a little bit like if Ankh won, I would be like, it's not that bad. Maybe I get to see Jiri beat him for the belt now. Because now I'm like, Jiri definitely would have beat Ankalaev. I just think Jiri's impossible to put away. I mean, Khalil landed clean a couple times, but it goes to show you, Alex Pereira is really the only guy who could fucking put Jiri Prochazka out. It's really impressive. But anyway, great fight. Moving down the card, we go on the main card, and fucking Josh Emmett, Yusuf Zalal. Yusuf Zalal had a submission that just looked boring. Like, it just happened. You're like, what the fuck? There wasn't any strikes landed in this. It was like he blasts a double leg or gets a takedown. And then next thing you know, Josh Emmett verbally taps an armbar, and you're like, what? The fight just started. And I was thinking before this fight, I was going to take Yusuf Zalal by submission. But I was like, I'll just play it safe and take him by decision. Who knows? Yusuf Zalal is not exactly the most exciting. He had that shitty fight against Calvin Kattar. But crowd booed this guy so bad. I mean, he kept pandering to the crowd, saying like, thank God I'm Muslim, which, I mean, that'll get the crowd to boo you all the time. Thank God I'm Muslim. Arabic, whatever he said. He shouted out, everybody's like, shout out Josh Emmett, and the crowd still booed him. He was shouting out like Lerone Murphy, Diego Lopez. He shouted out everybody and still got booed. Good win for him, though. I don't really care much for Yusuf Zalal. His mom got to see him win today, though. So I guess I'm happy for him. And then we move on to Joe. Joe turned the body cam off Pyfer versus Abus Magomedov. And I was scared in the beginning for Joe Pyfer because Abus Magomedov looked really comfortable in the grappling exchanges. He had a nice slam on him, had him in like this dumb head scissor lock with his legs that was in tight. I mean, it's kind of a gay submission, but whatever. He did have it in tight. And he looked comfortable in those grappling exchanges. And he didn't really even throw a lot of kicks in the first round. I don't even know if he threw any. Because I was surprised. I figured Abus Magomedov was just going to come out throwing wild kicks, and maybe that's how he kind of stuns Joe Pyfer a bit and slows him down. But instead, he really dominated him in the grappling. But then at the end of the round, as they got up, Joe Pyfer showed some good pressure, and I was like, there we go, Joey P. I like us for this. And round 2 started, and Joe Pyfer pretty much immediately dropped him, put pressure on him, landed elbows, had like a nasty arm triangle on him. Joe Pyfer was just absolutely dominating the ground, and you could look at Joe Pyfer and say, wow, this is just a meathead cop-looking dude who's just going to throw punches. He's talented, man. I don't particularly like Joe Pyfer. I think he's kind of an asshole. But he did show some really nice grappling and kind of jiu-jitsu in that second round. And then he took his back, had some great wrist control to keep his back, which was pretty impressive from him. And then fucking got the rear naked choke in and finished him. And turned that fucking body cam off. That was this kind of a performance from Joe Pyfer. And it was Magomedov, a guy who was, he was recently 14th in the rankings. So this is a really good win for Joe Pyfer. I mean, he's not 14th anymore. He kind of moved off because of inactivity. But it's a good win for Joe Pyfer. He's got talent. I don't really know if he'll ever be a real contender, but he can fight. You know, when he fights somebody I really care about, I can't wait to see him get flatlined. But it was a good win for him. Good for Joey P. And then we'll do the prelims as fast as possible. I want to keep this a rather shorter video, but we'll start off. This was comical. I mean, what are we doing, UFC? Feeding Gautier an absolute fucking cannon, Tristan Vines, who's a PFL guy or LFA guy. The fight starts out, and you already tell what kind of a fight this is gonna be. Tristan Vines is just moving around in circles in the octagon. And Gautier's just like, what the fuck do you want me to do here? He really wasn't even cutting him off. And then Vines shot one of the worst takedown attempts. It was like from 15 feet away and got kneed in the face. It was so funny. Even DC was like, well, he's just going in there, you know, telegraphed from so far away. Like, what does he expect to happen? Then Vines shoots for another takedown, and he gets pushed off, like gets hit with these elbows. It was like he used the force and just threw him off, and then punched and finished. It happened so fast, and you're like, oh, well, that was how we all expected. I think everybody thought this would be round one KO. Good for Ateba Gautier. Can't wait till we actually see this dude fight a real person, because he's fighting nobodies. And I hope Tristan Vines, he gets a nice little $10,000 and maybe another fight to prove himself. Not saying he's good whatsoever, because he probably isn't. But to go in there and get absolutely destroyed by Gautier on short notice, whatever. Get another fight. Get 10 grand. 10 grand to survive a minute, to survive a couple minutes with Ateba Gautier, which is impressive in itself. They just picked him out the crowd and said, go in there and survive, and he did so, and then died. Good for him. Good for Gautier. I can't wait till you fight real people. And this was a fun fight. As we move down the card, Daniel Santos versus Ju Sang-Yo. I was super excited for this fight. Obviously, Ju Sang-Yo, kind of the protege, apprentice of Korean Zombie, young Zombie. Early on, there were some really nice low kicks from Yo. He was moving so well on his back foot, like hopping around. He was just looked so quick on his feet. But Santos, I thought, was still landing stuff. Had like nice left hook. Then he landed a takedown. He headbutted Ju Sang-Yo on the ground, which was very odd. Whoever the ref was, like, you can't do that. And Yo was literally emoting, yawning, throwing his thumbs up. And then they get back up. Santos was still landing nice shots. It was really a great first round. Santos had those big, meaty left hooks. And another thing that I noticed about Daniel Santos in this fight was he was throwing all these dumb spinning, like, back kicks and stuff that just weren't landing. I was like, how many more of these are you going to throw before their one lands or you get knocked out? I just was thinking that. And one thing I thought in this first round by Ju Sang-Yo was I was like, man, his hands are low and he really doesn't block at all. Like, his guard is not high. Like, he could get caught. But I was like, oh, he moves so fast. And Daniel Santos is kind of an idiot. He looks fat. So he should be fine. But then Santos applies the pressure again in the second round. And that was it. He got KO'd. I was just like, fuck. I was so excited for Ju Sang-Yo. I noted here, Ju Sang-Yo should try picking up his hands more and not moving backwards with your chin up. When does that ever work? Daniel Santos is a bulldog, you know, shootbox guy. Left hook dropped him. Big win for him. He looks good, but I kind of annoys me that you came into this fight overweight and you look fat. Like, you got to look in better shape. But whatever. Good for him. Good for shootbox. Good for Charles Oliveira. Maybe poses well for next week against Gamrot, which we'll probably do a video on that maybe Tuesday, just to spoil. And then as we move down the card, and this was really a disaster. This is where I lost any of my friends' money. All my friends' money. I did a lot of look into this Patchy Mix versus Jakob Wiklacz, we'll just call him Jacob, whatever. I was like, this guy's a KSW dude, he sucks. At least Patchy Mix fought at Bellator, was good at Bellator, and has UFC experience over a good guy in Mario Batista. Regardless of what you want to say about the fight, I was like, he's gonna win. And man, was I fucking wrong. I mean, Patchy Mix, as soon as the fight starts, like, I almost forgot how bad you were on the feet. Like, I know I just rewatched your fight against Mario Batista, but you even looking worse now. you know, I said in the breakdown of this card, it's like Patchy Mix will throw low kicks. He was throwing low kicks early, had a nice takedown, flattened him out. But Jakub Wiklacz just kept getting up. Take another takedown from Patchy Mix early. And then Jakub kind of had like a guillotine in reverse position. And then he got him out and flattened Patchy out. But then we got to round 2. Patchy Mix still looks so shit on his feet. And another thing about round 1, Jakub Wiklacz, however you say his name, he looked a lot faster on the feet, and that worried me. I was like, this is begging for Patchy Mix to get dropped. But you know what? You got to remember, the one thing I give Patchy Mix, he has a good chin. Round 2 comes along, again, more takedowns. He gets out of a guillotine. Jakub Wiklacz, he probably had like 100 guillotines. I know it says only 3 submission attempts, but it felt like a bunch. Then they get back up, and I just wrote, Patchy Mix just eats punches and doesn't move his head, just keeps his head on the center line. I don't know how you have 0 head movement. It makes 0 sense. I think he was 4 for 6 on takedowns at this point in the second round, and was actually hitting him a little bit on the feet also. And Jakub looked a lot slower that round, and it was I wrote striking disaster class for these guys. And at this point, I had it 1-1. I said, Jakub, he could get the first round, and then Patchy gets the second, something like that. I had a 1-1 at this point. And then round 3 comes along. Again, Wiklacz kept going for this guillotine on these takedowns, on when Patchy Mix would shoot takedowns. And he also, when position got reversed, he did a nice job with his hips, kind of creating space and, you know, not letting Patchy Mix get too close to get a submission attempt. But at this point, I was like, oh, Patchy, he's really controlling him on the ground. He had landed some elbows or some strikes on the ground to Jakub that kind of cut him open. He was bleeding. So I was like, oh, he's leaking. You know, judges will see that. He'll win 29-28. I called my boys. I was like, oh, Patchy Mix, fucking masterclass. I mean, it was awful, but he's going to win. And then he fucking lost. And I was stunned. I know it sounds stupid to say I was stunned Patchy Mix lost. Like, that phrase should never be uttered by a human because he's absolutely awful. But, I was just like, he had to have won this fight. He didn't. He sucks. He should be cut. Dana White should have came in the UFC octagon and immediately cut him and then kicked him in the balls. That should have been what they did to Patchy Mix. I mean, this guy, people forget, man, he came into the UFC and it was immediately talking shit, saying he was going to be the best bantamweight in the world. He said that he could challenge Merab and Sean O'Malley. You couldn't even beat a KSW jobber. You suck. Your strike, I think, listen, I'm not really going to say I have great striking, but I'm pretty sure I could piece Patchy Mix up. Like, he's absolutely awful. He sucks. I never want to see him again. I'll never pick you again. It's my own fault for trusting you to do anything. And people lost money because of you. I knew a lot of people who took you by submission. You're a scumbag. And as we go to the last, or I guess first fight on the early prelims, our boy Emmett Shahbazyan versus Andre Muniz. You knew it was either going to be early knockout or bust for Emmett. I said second round because I was kind of giving Andre Muniz the benefit of the doubt. But Emmett Shahbazyan, end of round 1, fucking finishes him. And there was Muniz had like a shit takedown that Emmett stuffed in the beginning. Emmett, you could tell, was just schooling him on the feet. But Andre Muniz threw some nice kicks to the body, which at least perked my interest. And he also landed some nice low kicks. He had a nice right on Emmett Shahbazyan also and got him to the ground. Then they got back up. And Emmett hit him with a fucking left hook. Muniz stumbled. It really looked like he wasn't hurt that badly by it, but then he was. Emmett just finished him on the ground. That was an average Emmett Shahbazyan first round. 3 in a row for Emmett. Only 27, man. You know, maybe get him a ranked fight next at the middleweight. Whatever. Good for Emmett Shahbazyan. Not much more to say about it. Andre Muniz sucks. He's old as shit. He beat the Iron Turtle like recently. It's just crazy. Or not recently, but within the last couple of years. Anyway, moving on to, I guess, the first fight that we're going to break down of the early prelims. Punele Soriano versus Nikolai Veretennikov. What a weird fight this was. I mean, it was so odd. Really entirely wrestling. I remember nothing in terms of striking because all the strikes were pretty much on the ground. I don't remember anything on the feet. Beginning, Soriano had a nice double leg, and then there was a nice sprawl by Veretennikov. Veretennikov had some nasty elbows that put a big welt under Soriano's right eye in the clinch. Again, Soriano just kept landing takedowns. Veretennikov just kept trying for these guillotines on every single takedown that Punele Soriano tried, but he could never get it fully. They were landing nice shots against the cage, nice elbows from Soriano. I was like, he's going to get that finish in the first round. He couldn't, but it was grappling dominance. He couldn't get it. I think he had over 3 minutes of control time just in that first round, and he was punishing. And again, he had that welt under his right eye. Round 2 comes again, and another big slam in the beginning by Soriano Veretennikov. And Veretennikov just keeps holding his head, trying for that guillotine against his body and can't get the choke in. Again, ton of control time. And I said he should just turn it up and get a finish. I don't want to watch any more of this. Then they get back to the feet. Veretennikov threatened to sub, but then Soriano got back on full mount and really did nothing. And I just was like, these guys are fucking tired. Veretennikov never adjusted his guillotine attempt, and then that's just kind of the basis of this. He kept cranking guillotines and nothing happened, and I think Soriano had 12 minutes of control time in this fucking fight. And then at one point, Mark Goddard, this fuck, made Pinelli Soriano stand up. And this is the same guy who watched Khamzat Chimaev and DDP and didn't do anything. Just watched Khamzat Chimaev sit on fucking DDP the whole fight and didn't do shit until the end. I just thought that was disgusting. Never do that again, Mark Goddard. And then at the end of the third round, he lands another takedown, and then he wins. And then I wrote in here, most failed guillotine attempts I've ever seen. And you know what? They only wrote 2 sub-attempts for Veretennikov. Maybe it was 2 legit ones, because he threw about 12 ones that weren't legit and absolutely sucked. But whatever. Veretennikov has 0 grappling whatsoever, 0 fight IQ. You suck. Soriano, credit to him. He showed some really nice wrestling in this fight. So I'll be on the lookout for him. And then number 5, Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos. Yana Santos looked like a hooker. What an ugly fight this was. I mean, Macy Chiasson had a length and a reach advantage, and she didn't do anything. And don't forget, she didn't cut 2 pounds, which always worries you. Santos was doing a really nice work in the clinch, really the whole fight with elbows and knees. Macy was getting just out-bitched and outworked. So many knees and elbows. Round 2, it's a lot more of the same. Macy Chiasson just kept going to the clinch and just getting beat up. She was getting pummeled. She looked slow. I thought it was weird how even she would engage in the clinch. Like, she would initiate it against Yana Santos and then would do absolutely nothing. She would just get crushed. And then she kind of had a takedown in round 2, which gave me some hope. And then she ate a front kick at the end of the round. I was like, well, there goes your chance of winning that round. At this point, it was 2-0. Yana Santos, 10-9 both. And then she did finally turn up the pressure in the third round and actually, cut her off more. Had a nice takedown, nearly had a rear naked choke in, had nice shots on the ground and got damage, and then couldn't finish. I don't know why she didn't just stay at range, use her kicks. And she kind of just played right into Santos' game plan and just got absolutely mauled in the clinch, which I really hated. I should have just picked Yana Santos because she made weight. You know what I mean? I know, Daniel Santos didn't make weight, and I picked against him. But it just always... a rule of thumb, anytime a guy doesn't make weight and you don't really care, it worries me. So, Chris Gutierrez versus Farhad Basharat. This fight literally went exactly like Chris Gutierrez just throwing dumb calf kicks from range, does nothing, feints and switching stances. Basharat lands a beautiful takedown, flans him out in the beginning, moves him away from the cage, just gets a ton of control time, exactly how you thought it would. He opens up more in the second round, lands some nice punches. Gutierrez literally just did nothing. I think he had a nice overhand in that second round that kind of stunned him. But then Farid had like a big right. There was like a rolling thunder that he missed in the second round also. But it looked cool. Chris Gutierrez sucks. Until the third round, when he finally decided to be a UFC fighter. And that landed a nice calf kick that kind of stumbled Farid Basharat. And then he applied a lot of pressure. Like, even got him on the ground. And then stopped applying pressure once Basharat got up. Basharat dumped him with a beautiful takedown. Basharat looked tired by that point, but I thought he really did a nice job gritting it out. Not that you have to do much to grit out against Chris Gutierrez because he sucks, but he showed some good adversity, won by unanimous decision. Good for Farid Basharat. He might be in line to fight a ranked guy next. And then the first loss that we had on this card, I mean, I know this was just the first loss that we had, is Ramiz Brahimaj versus Austin Vanderford. And Ramiz Brahimaj, I'm sorry for disrespecting you. You're on a nice run right now. Another really nice finish for him. I mean, the beginning of the fight, I thought Vanderford was landing nice jabs with his left, and then had like a nice, high kick that was kind of blocked by Ramiz, and then got him with a beautiful takedown, and then had just a ton of control time. And then he kind of just, the problem was he couldn't get him off against the cage. Like, Ramiz Brahimaj is just sitting on the ground against the cage, and he was doing literally 0 damage, but he still won the first round just based off that takedown. And then Ramiz Brahimaj just lands a really nice high kick head kick in that second round. Tried to get a sub when he dropped him. Then Vanderford got back up, but that head kick really damaged him. And then both guys kind of showed some nice nice wrestling, some nice grappling. There were some really nice sprawls from both of them. But then Ramiz just started landing some beautifully nasty elbows. And then I look up, I was typing my notes out, and then he subbed him with, what, a 10-figure guillotine, and that was it. The head kick that he threw really damaged him. And he had, Austin Vanderford had a really big cut over his eye. I noticed that also. But, yeah, I got to take notice of Ramiz Brahimaj. He's on a nice run. I think he has, like, since he went to Bilal's camp, man, since he went to the champ's camp, he's been really finding finishes and kind of becoming a bit of a problem. So I got to pay attention to him more. And he gave Joe Rogan his hat. For this entire fight, I was pretty much making food. Veronica Hardy, I saw, got Brogan Walker in like an armbar and then claimed that Brogan Walker tapped. Didn't happen, but Hardy pretty much dominated the whole fight. I thought she looked so much faster and cleaner on the feet, but just pretty much did nothing. Like, I wish she went for the finish more because it was there, and she had some nice takedowns. Walker did have a nice takedown that she landed at the end of round 2, and then had like another that she landed in round 3, and then also had her back in round 3. This was a weird fight, but it was easily 3-0 Hardy still. She looks so much better on the feet. Brogan Walker literally didn't do shit. I don't even know what kind of a name Brogan is. I thought it was Irish for a second, but she don't really look Irish. She looks a little tan. So I don't really know what her deal is. We went in reverse order for this because I wanted to get my thoughts out of like the fights I really cared about first, because that was fresh in my mind. But again, UFC 320 absolutely rocked. This card I give like a 9 out of 10. Maybe it would have been better if there was like a Merab finish Corey. Maybe if the Zalal versus Josh Emmett fight was more entertaining and Josh Emmett absolutely landed an overhand and nuked Yusuf Zalal. But whatever, I went 10 for 14 on this card. Went perfect on the main card. I think I had Pyfer by second round knockout. He gets a sub. I had Zalal by decision. He wins by sub. I got Jiri perfect with the round 3 knockout. I had Merab by decision, and then I had Alex by 4th round knockout. He wins by 1st round knockout. Again, what a card. I'm just so happy Alex Pereira won. Like, legitimately was one of the greatest moments of the year. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We're going to do probably a matchmaking video maybe tomorrow, and then Monday or Tuesday I'm going to do the card breakdown for UFC Brazil or UFC Rio, where Charles versus Gamrot. I'm going to try and do like maybe just the main card. Maybe I'll do prelims too for that. But be on the lookout for that. We're going to keep pumping content out. Follow the TikTok. We're on Instagram Reels now. Follow us on there. And again, thank you guys all for watching. Fuck you, Big Onk. We're sending you to the tire shop now. CHAMA forever, baby. CHAMA forever.